Study section 8. Ideology in modern African drama. Introduction. An ideology can be described as a set of fixed principles upon which a position is taken. It could also be described as a theory or model which forms the basis of an organization, a movement, or even a political system. Objective. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to apply the different literary ideology to modern West African plays. More so, you will also see these ideologies being applied to text. Contents. As defined above, ideology could be described as a theory or model which forms the basis of an organization, a movement, or even a political system. It also refers to that aspect of the human condition under which people operate as conscious actors. Ideology is the medium through which human consciousness works. Importantly, our conception of religion, politics, morality, art, and science is deeply influenced by our ideology. In other words, what we see and believe largely depends on our ideology. Ideology being the medium through which we comprehend and interpret reality. Reality itself exists objectively outside our consciousness and independently of any particular individual, but how one sees and applies it depends in part on one's level of ideological education. We shall take our time to examine the dominant ideology. That is, we mean the beliefs, assumptions, and set of values that inform the thought and action of a people in a particular era. According to Louis Atosal, we shall note that the ideology of a ruling class is projected through ideological apparatuses, ISAs, such as the religious ISA, the educational ISA, the political ISA, and the cultural ISA, which includes literature and the arts, 1971, page 143. In colonial Africa, the predominant colonial ideology, which was bourgeoisie, was propagated through the various ISAs, principally the education, the religious, the cultural ISAs. This has an important bearing on modern African drama, as most of the later playwrights to be discussed after this lecture were subjected to the heavy influence of the various colonial ideological states apparatuses. However, it is important to note that whatever stance the playwright takes constitutes his or her authorial ideology. Authorial ideology is what determines the playwright's perception of reality. Whether or not a playwright presents a view of society characterized by the false consciousness depends largely on authorial ideology. For the purpose of this lecture, we shall briefly examine two ideologies, that is, feminism and Marxism. As earlier posited, the prevailing circumstances premeditate the kinds of writing and, importantly, the ideology or ideologies that would be adopted by the playwright. According to Chikwenye Ogunyemi, feminism smacks of rebelliousness, fearlessness, political awareness of sexism, and unpardonable drive for equality and equity between the sexes. It therefore instills fear in men, though it frees many women. The radical feminists can go as far as doing without the male to enjoy our liberty. However, feminism as an ideology can be better understood in the context of globalization. In 1893, Frances Harper, a black woman, addressed a World Congress of Women Representatives and told them to see themselves as standing on the threshold of women's era, urging them to be prepared to receive responsibility of political power. This became necessary because although the black male and the black female are common targets of white racism, colonialism, and neocolonialism, the black female is confronted more with the dominant domestic ideologies and literary convention of womanhood, which excluded her from the definition. In Nigeria, female academics critics like Molara Ogudipe, Leshile, Chinwenye Oguyemi, Ketri Acholanu, Ama Ata Aido, and Tess Onweme, to mention a few, have continued to use the feminist ideology to challenge the dehumanizing tendencies of the patriarchal social political institution in the continent. Brands of feminism. Feminism as an ideology has two major dimensions. The first touches an issue that endears it to the women from all parts of the world. It militantly attempts to debunk the myth held by men and embodied in Aristotle's assertion that the female is female by virtue of certain lack of qualities. 1991-19. The myth is rooted in men's common belief that a woman is nothing but a womb. She exists to procreate, stay in the kitchen, cook for the husband, and look after the house. She is, in short, an inferior human being. 1991, page 219. The second dimension tends to destroy male, female principle of the creative order. The brand of feminism pours venom on the marriage institution, celebrate the individuality of the alienated female, and glamorously cling to the lesbianism as an enviable lifestyle. Thus, the dimension of feminism violently tears off the unbiblical cord that ties the male to the female and ensures the complementary existence of the two sexes. The African feminist is quick to dissociate herself from this brand of feminism. Most of them find the brand repulsive as a wrong counter to the African way of life. However, it is reasonable to argue that the women are asserting their identity as Africans by rejecting the unfavorable aspects of the European concept of feminism. Perhaps this explains why attempts are now being made to domesticate the concept by using such terms as African feminism, positive feminism, womanism, and modernism. Tess Onweme as a feminist. At a time when African women see feminism as a taboo and another form of colonial imperialism, Tess Onweme has shown that she is not afraid to take on such an issue. In her play, Tell It to Women, 1992, Onweme devotes total attention to the feminist discourse by examining the concepts, contents, context, and relevance of feminism to contemporary African women. In line with the thematic concern of the play, the quest starts as a research project in an American classroom. The play opens with a discussion of the project to reassess the feminist movements. The first level of the research concludes that feminism has failed as it has alienated men and that its claims to sisterhood are hollow. Thus, having been done outside Africa shows the failure of an imported feminism and the need to look inward and develop a domestic brand. This is why the second leg of the research moves the play from an American classroom to Idu, Nigeria, where the better life for rural women is to symbolically serve as a means of combating the patriarchal domination of women. Oweme clearly tells us through Ebony, one of the characters in the play, that ideal of feminism is not the one that seeks to destroy the man-woman relationship through needless conflict. Rather, it is a feminism that recognizes the difference between man and woman, as she declares. We are going to the east and then south to Africa. Africa is our destination. Now, let's go on a cruise to the west. When we come to Africa, you will see the difference here in the northwest. What have you been exploring? It's been conflict upon conflict, of tension between men and women. We'll soon go on to Africa, and then you will see the place of difference. There, our focus is difference, not conflict. 1992, 116. Women's position on feminism is clear, that each gender has its role to play in the family and in the community. She therefore questions the purpose of global feminism as represented by Daisy and Ruth. Through them, women tells us how not to go about changing society. Ruth was sent America as a teenager, and she is therefore culturally alienated. Consequently, she is an avowed feminist, in bracket the wrong brand, and a declared man-hater. Daisy, on the other hand, is a civil servant and married with children, but instead of being responsible, she is Ruth's lesbian lover. Onweme is clearly opposed to this type of feminism. However, she is unhappy and concerned that more value is being placed on the boy child than the girl child. Marxist literary ideology tends to focus on the representation of class conflict as well as the reinforcement of class distinctions through the medium of literature. Marxist ideology often champion authors sympathetic to the working classes and authors whose work challenges economic qualities. Found in capitalist societies, in keeping with the totalizing spirit of Marxism, literary ideologies arising from the Marxist paradigm have not sought new ways of understanding the relationship between economic production and literature, but all cultural production as well. Literary ideologies arising from the Marxist paradigm have not sought new ways of understanding the relationship between economic production and literature, but all cultural production as well. Marxist analysis of society and history has had a profound effect on the generation of African playwrights like Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Femi Oshofison, and Bode Sowande. Karl Marx, the proponent of this ideology, persists that economics and not politics is the major force to contend with in history. He said because the bourgeoisie possesses the means of production, they will continue to hold tenaciously to power unless and until the elite structure of the society is pulled down through the elimination of the bourgeoisie, thus paving the way for a classless society. This, in a nutshell, is the main thrust of Marxism, which Ngugi supports and sympathizes with, thereby earning him the appellation of a Marxist. In a letter to Imekide, Ngugi writes, "I believe that as we blacks have suffered doubly under colonialism and capitalism, forced as part of all the working masses, and as blacks, by which I mean that a white worker, by the very nature of his position, was a beneficiary of the colonialist and racist exploitation of African and black people everywhere." 1972-13. This is the podium of Ngugi's work and his brand of Marxism as he informs his readers, in writers, in politics, that the condition of life of the toiling and exploiting masses inevitably gave rise to his ideology of socialism. Ngugi is worried and concerned about how Europe has underdeveloped Africa, but even more worried about how Africa has continued to develop Europe. That is, to develop European capitalism through the mercantile as well as slavery, where Africans were sold as commodities alongside sugar, tobacco, and gold. The dominant themes in all the works of Ngugi is reflected in a short talk he gave to Makerere students titled "The Writer in a Changing Society," where he recommends a socialist program as the ideal means of harnessing all Africans' aspirations. According to him, we must strive for a form of social organization which will free the spirit and energy of our people, so we can build a new country and sing a new song. 1971, page 14. He believes that literature is a potent and powerful means of shaping a society and arousing people's consciousness towards the existing realities around them. We shall explore more of Ngugi's work in the succeeding lecture under Modern Eastern African Drama. Summary. In this lecture, we have examined the meaning of ideology as wielded into literature. We have also looked at feminism and Marxism as brands, as a major tool used by modern African playwrights of conveying their messages, of portraying African realities.